So, we are going to check out why people thought that this was an L take, see if it lines up with what I was saying, where Mr. MoistCr1TiKaL, Mr. Penguin Zero here, a bit of an L take there on the iDubbbz situation, not really being empathetic at all, not really caring about iDubbbz's feelings about the situation, and kind of just putting himself into his shoes and telling him how he ought to have felt about it, kind of seemed like. So let's see what other people said to you. Let's see you defend yourself, bro.
Second there, partner. Why don't you step into the saloon here for a little chit-chat?
Okay.
We got ourselves a little bit of a sour hootenanny on our hands here after my latest video on the iDubbbz
Worth
situation.
it!
It's being hailed as a
Hell
big
yes.
L take from old Charles White here. And in the cyberspace, an L take is criminal.
Yep.
The punishment for the crime is 1,000 different labels.
Yep.
So, there's a lot to talk about.
People calling you names there, Critical?
So let's just go ahead and dive
Too
in.
critical?
I gave my opinion on the iDubbbz apology video. Same thing every single person in the world with a keyboard has done over the last 24 hours. And this isn't shocking new content for me. I pretty much opine on everything everywhere that happens on the internet, even if it's like fucking 30-year-old drama from an extinct MMO that I found on a subreddit last week. If I find it either entertaining or if I have a lot to say about it, I'll usually make a video on it just because I kind of treat my channel
Yes, you are guilty of spamming a lot of content, I agree.
like a diary, so I vomit out my thoughts. And not everyone's going to agree with them, and people shouldn't agree with everything that I say, because everyone should be their own individual. For a long time now, I've said how dangerous I feel echo chambers are, so I've never wanted my channel to become one of those.
For real.
And I don't think it has. I know people will disagree, but there's been plenty of instances over the
Well, I'm sitting here disagreeing while watching your channel, so it's clearly not a total echo chamber.
years where I've said things that people disagree with. I think disagreeing with someone is extremely healthy and important.
It is?
I wouldn't want a community that doesn't think for themselves and just blindly agrees with everything I say without giving it any thought of their
Alright, this is a good intro so far.
own. And in this case, people have disagreed with my perspective on the iDubbbz situation. For
Okay.
those that don't know, I'll quickly break it down. iDubbbz made an apology video yesterday where he talked about how deeply he regrets the content he used to make and how he views it as being just horrible, and that he's very sorry for all of the things that he put out there in the world and the pain that he caused through the content. And that's become a very divisive topic. And I gave my perspective on it. And
Well, I think a lot of racists are mad about it. Honestly, from what we saw in the first video there, I think a lot of racists be mad.
since then, people have done some very uncharitable interpretations of what I've been saying. And I guess I can't really blame them. If I'm not abundantly clear with where I stand on things, I've learned that everything gets lost with ambiguity, and people run with the absolute most negative narrative they can find in the
Bro, it's the internet, are you new?
wildest ways to misconstrue some statements. So I actually can't even be mad about that. I recognize
Okay, good, yeah, no, you can't.
that's my own shortcoming, and this is something that's happened in the past, where when I make a video, I know my intention. I know what I believe and where I stand.
Oh my god, that's exactly what I was talking about, how you didn't... He didn't give that to iDubbbz. He didn't let iDubbbz say, no, but this is where I was coming from.
But you guys don't. You're not like a little ghost
Doggo!
or a spirit over my shoulder that's watching me make a video or in my little noodle up here when I'm delivering my thoughts. Which means it's my responsibility
Other doggo!
to make my intentions known and clear. And I don't
Bye-bye, other doggo.
always fully convey it effectively. So I definitely think that's played some role here in how everything's been playing out with people talking about me on Twitch and on Reddit and Twitter, but not fully. There's definitely going to be some people that are going to look like Eustace from Courage the Cowardly Dog when he gets that gel that he puts in his hair that makes him really mad and his eyes pop out of his skull and his head explodes. Because there are just going to be some things that I believe that other people aren't. And that's okay.
Of course.
But what I don't appreciate and what really gets my ass twisted is people labeling me horrible things on a complete misunderstanding of what I actually believe. Or them just making up things that I believe, or
Okay, so go ahead. What have people said?
putting their whole ass in my mouth and filling it with words that I've never said or even came close to trying to express.
Put their whole ass in his mouth.
By far the biggest thing I'm seeing from the online discussion around my video is people saying that I was attacking iDubbbz for trying to grow, and that I wanted him to stay in that 2016 edgy era. And my
Mhm.
take was that of a 30-year-old man with a 15-year-old's brain who still giggles and loves edgy humor from yesteryear. When nothing could be further from the truth.
Okay, I think I disagree with that just based off of what we just watched. I don't think that's how you were coming off. I don't think you were coming off that way. I think you were coming off as emotionally blind towards iDubbbz feelings, but I don't think you were coming off like that.
A, I'm not 30. I'm 28 years old, and fucking shame on you, you disgusting swine, for insinuating that I'm pushing 30. I'm
He's 38!
28 years young. And B, it makes me feel like you didn't even bother watching the video, because I don't know how that could even come across at all. I'll quickly just play a small snippet from the end here, which I imagine a lot of people talking about this didn't even get to. So
We'll probably
really
skip
feel
this because
throughout
we
the
just
video I
watched
made
it.
clear that the edgy shit is lame and cringy. And that's something to absolutely regret. Now, obviously, times have changed, and he has changed. He's gotten older. He's in losing his word,
Yeah, we just
grow,
watched that.
and change as a person and as a content creator and changing their content.
Yeah.
I had a whole fucking
Everybody
section
wants
about
to
that,
change their
talking about
content
it outside of
eventually.
even just the iDubbbz perspective here. So
Like, I mean, Logan Paul started off on Vine, okay? He started off on Vine doing, like, 6-second pranks and stuff, okay? Like, yeah, people want to change their content as they get older. You think Logan Paul wanted to stay on the beach doing 6-second pranks? No.
really know how that one got so fucked up here with this whole discussion around my video. The point of my video was never to attack the idea that someone growing and regretting things they've done in their past is a bad thing. I really thought I made that clear, but I must have missed the mark since so many people are saying that the whole core component of my video is to attack the fact that he's apologizing for personal growth and doing things that make him happy.
No, I don't think it was, but I still think it was a hot L take because you just do not give a crap about how iDubbbz actually feels about the situation, and you just insinuate he should feel the way that you do.
Which I never meant to convey, and if that's what came across, then I'm sorry that I missed the mark so drastically. I really feel like multiple times I called out that it's completely normal and fine to regret the shit you said in those videos and want to distance yourself from that content in general. Like, that makes a lot of sense, and I talked about him making different content that makes him happier and how that's great. Like, you should never feel like a prisoner to your audience to keep delivering something that doesn't make you happy. That was one of the broader talking points I used in that video, but people are acting
You guys
like
see
I
me
never said
scratching?
that.
I know this is offside, but see me scratching my nose a lot. I was out in the sun quite a bit the last couple days, so I got a very light sunburn on my T area here.
That I wanted him to stay doing the same shit from 2016, which of course I was never arguing for. Now,
No, it didn't
the
seem
next
like
biggest
it.
thing by far is me saying that I don't think the apology was warranted. Maybe
Is that the
wasn't
hookers and
correct, since
blow?
That's the one a lot of people are really like underlining and highlighting and giving me an F on the book report for. So to explain what I meant.
Oh, wait. I'm gonna be crazy. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. He was talking, and he got hungry, and he paused it, and he took a bite of his sandwich. Check it out right here. He's got his sandwich. He's making his video. Watch this.
Underlining and highlighting and giving me an F on the book report for. So to explain.
You see that? Yeah, his sandwich moved. He said that book report thing, and he hit pause. He took a bite of his sandwich, put it back down, started talking again.
What I meant when I'm saying I don't think the apology was warranted, I'm saying I don't think him being a product of edgy internet culture is necessarily something that should have been weighing on his mind so heavily for the last fucking 7 years that he's lived with this constant guilt, this burden on his shoulders where he's...
Bro, let him
as though
feel
he
bad. You're still
created
L
edgy
taking.
internet.
iDubbbz is allowed to feel like his old stuff was bad. If he legitimately knows that his stuff was coming from a hateful place in his heart, he's allowed to apologize and say it was bad stuff. Dude, you're still not letting him feel his own emotions.
Culture. The way he talked about in this video really made me feel very bad for him, that he's had this kind of looming disgust at the man he used to be because he partook in edgy internet culture, which wasn't just him. His channel wasn't the genesis of edginess. He didn't create it. He was molded by it, like fucking Bane from Batman. And I feel...
Yeah, but then he perpetuated it, and he feels bad about it. Maybe like Bane from Batman?
as though the content he used to make did have a message. He wasn't coming from a place of genuine hatefulness. I don't think he was ever like a real
Yeah,
racist
this
or
is
an
what you said
actual
last time, man.
pedant. So when I said I don't think the apologies warranted, what I mean is I don't think what he did was so damaging and scarring to the online space or individuals that for 7 years he's needed to carry this guilt where he felt obligated to finally apologize for
Yeah, and
it.
I don't think he did for 7 years. I think over 7 years, he's developed the feeling that he feels bad about it. He's got a hot L take on iDubbbz old stuff where iDubbbz has come forward saying he's apologizing for the context of his old stuff. Yeah, so iDubbbz is giving apologies because he feels his old stuff like Content Cop on YouTube were coming from a hateful place. Whereas, like, he was always presenting it in a funny, satirical way. He was using slurs, etc. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, iDubbbz put out this apology video saying that his content's going to be different, and he feels bad for the way he kind of perpetuated certain mindsets and stuff when he was younger, and it's not going to be like that anymore. And now Moist is saying, oh, you don't have to feel bad about it. You shouldn't have been feeling bad for 7 years. Well, and I'm saying, Moist, man, you should not be telling him how to feel. This is the hot L take here, is you telling iDubbbz how his heart should feel about how he has grown as a person. How dare you step into his shoes, look back at who he used to be and tell him, don't you dare feel bad about it? He's allowed to feel bad about it. Maybe you're going to say, oh, I wasn't saying don't you dare, but like at the same time, you're really coming off as saying it's kind of dumb that he feels bad about who he was and how he's grown. You don't know where he was coming from. That's what I'm going to stress. iDubbbz knows in his heart, in his mind, where his content was coming from. And if he feels the need to apologize for it, I say let him do it.
If people really thought he held these racist, bigoted beliefs, I don't think many people would have been signing up for Creator Clash 1 and 2, right?
No, exactly.
Like, this is the first time
That's
he's
why it was
publicly
funny.
acknowledged it and fully apologized for it. He's, of course, talked about distancing himself from it on podcasts, but this is the first time he's really owned up to it publicly. But I think most people knew he wasn't like this evil, racist person. So
I used to laugh at Content Cop. That's what I was saying. I used to laugh at it too.
I just don't think what he did gave a ton of people the impression that he really was a horrible, racist, bigoted person. Now, use the word obligated to apologize.
No, but again, now you're not letting iDubbbz feel what he feels. You're just telling him, oh, no one thought that way. But you don't know what he thought, man. You don't know what he thought. And he told you what he thought. And you didn't listen. Flop, I see that. We're going to get to that after the two that Kurt dropped.
Apologize just a moment ago. And that's what I went into the video thinking the motivation was. Like, you know, after all this time, people pointing out, like, the use of slurs in those videos have made them age fucking horribly. You know, this isn't acceptable. You know, it's time you own up to your past sins. That's what I thought it was. But after listening
Man,
to
you're
what
talking
people
a
said
lot,
since
dude.
I posted my video and diving a bit more into, like, the actual discussion in general online, I failed to really understand that maybe iDubbbz also treated this video like a diary where he just wanted to get everything off his chest with how he feels about it. So I completely misunderstood what the motivation could be for this video, and for that I'm sorry.
Yeah,
My goal
for real.
wasn't to attack the whole idea of an apology for content you regret. That was never my intention.
And that's what he was doing, man.
Is truly like a
He's saying it came from a bad place.
He wants to just finally move on from this, and in order to do that, he wanted to make this video publicly address.
In the first video, Moist kind of attacked him for apologizing, not like a straight out attack, but was saying like there was nothing for you to apologize for, and it was kind of weak to make this video because, like, sure, you could have said I'm changing my content. But, like, why are you apologizing for your old content? It wasn't bad. People don't think it was bad. And I'm saying, hey, if the creator said he thought it was bad and it came from a bad place, I think you got to let the creator speak for it.
How he feels about all of it, then that's totally understandable. That's absolutely understandable. And I may have had, like, the wrong lens of viewing the video in the first place.
You totally did, man.
Since I may have got the wrong idea about what was even driving the video to begin with. But now I do want to explain, I still do believe that iDubbbz was never a bad person for the content cops he made. That edgy shock humor was very much a 2016 trend. That whole era with slurs being used willy-nilly for cheap shock humor was not uncommon on the
No,
internet.
it was a thing.
And I don't know
It
why
was a
people
huge
think that I'm
thing.
trying to harken back to the glory days of being able to use a bunch of slurs all over the place. I've never fucking said that. I think in the last video...
What's funny is they were, in general, pretty tame slurs compared to, like, the 90s, but I get where he's coming from.
what gave people that idea is I said 2016 era shock humor in all its glory, so they thought that I was trying to celebrate the golden days or something. But I've never ever spoken support for that kind of edgy shit. I've always openly made fun of that whole idea. Even back in the era, I always found it pretty lame for the most part. So that might have just been a misunderstanding of my sarcasm when saying in all its glory in the last video, but I want to make that clear. But anyway, him using these slurs for cheap shock humor in the content cops is embarrassing and something to genuinely regret and look back on like.
And that's what he was saying. He literally he pointed it out himself.
Last video.
Yeah, like iDubbbz pointed he pointed it out himself. That's exactly what he was saying about it.
Too.
Yeah.
They were videos that were meant to criticize people that did deserve criticism. One thing iDubbbz said in his video that I still very much disagree with is that he made videos criticizing people based on lackluster reasons. I very much vehemently disagree with that. The people he did make content on were worthy of being criticized and called out for bad actions and being highlighted for horrible things they've done. And in doing so, iDubbbz attempted to...
Oh man, does anyone else feel like Moist is just backtracking on the exact same point over and over and over, that like he's not letting iDubbbz, like, is anyone else seeing this? Is anyone else seeing this, that he's just not letting iDubbbz own the fact that iDubbbz personally thinks that his own content was hateful? Do you see this? Like, you're still swinging and missing on this. Like, this is still an L take right now. Moist, how do you not see that iDubbbz has looked at his old content, known where his heart was, and said, I was being an asshole? How are you not allowing him to have that?
To entertain his audience, and one of the ways he tried to entertain them was through this shock humor with his slurs. Like I said, his catchphrase being two slurs strung together is nothing to be proud of.
South Park entered the chat.
On that component of content cops negatively and regretting that is a completely understandable and normal thing to do. Now, he did mention something that I also disagreed with initially, but after reading more, maybe I'm just too naive to really have a full grasp on it. I said that I don't think that content is indoctrinating, meaning I don't think him making...
Yeah, no, but it was. Boom! That's kind of off. Yeah, it was indoctrinating. It was. He personally apologized for the way it was indoctrinating.
Making those videos with the shock humor would lead to people thinking that all of a sudden it's okay to start using a ton of slurs, you know, in the real world or around people.
Kids, man!
General, right?
You got 15-year-old kids, 13, 14-year-old kids watching.
I also failed to recognize that in 2016, I was still in my fucking 20s. Which is sad to think that I'm basically a fossil now.
He just said he's 28 earlier. He's like, how dare you think I'm in my 30s? And now he's like, I was in my 20s. Bro, do you understand how he just, at the start of the video, said that he's not in his 30s, how dare you? And just now he used, oh, I was in my 20s to defend his point of view? Did you hear that? Oh, come on, man. Come on.
I wasn't a child during this period, so I don't know what effect this might have had on younger viewers of his. Maybe
still in your 20s, bro.
That it did serve as like a fucking gateway drug into racism or something. That is possible. I don't know. And that's what a lot of people did point out that I think is a great point. I was already old enough to recognize that he was never advocating for legitimate racism or bigotry or anything like that. That was never his message. But younger people may not have picked up on
Poo pee pee farty fart.
That's what it feels like. And this is what I was pointing out too. Some people pointed out to him, you were old enough. The kids watching those videos were not old enough, man.
He did have a very negative effect on how a lot of the youth perceived slurs and maybe the willingness to use them.
Yes, this is why he said sorry.
I'm sorry that I didn't consider that angle. I failed to realize that I was still pretty fucking old when the content cops were, you know...
Because for real, you had completely missed that.
hitting the
Oops.
cyberspace.
Whoop.
So obviously, if you inadvertently became a lightning rod for real racists, that's fucking horrible.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, I do still believe
That's
that
scary
his
shit. Nobody wants to be a
content
racist
series
lightning
was
rod.
not a cruel
And if you do, there's something wrong with you.
series. Like I said, the whole message behind it was pointing out some horrible things that people have done, and you delivered a message of here's why that shit's bad, and you coded your message with things meant to entertain, but in doing so, you delivered some bad shit along the way with the
bro,
edgy shock.
just
slurs
let him
thrown
apologize.
Loosey-goosey throughout the content. But I don't think that changes the actual message of what the video meant to convey. And it was never a message of cruelty. It was always a message of these people are doing bad, and these are people in very influential positions who probably shouldn't be.
Yeah, and this is why we laugh,
that is
but wasn't there a pretty public, pretty orange puppet who wanted to be a racist lightning rod?
Bad message. I don't think there's anything cruel about what you were aiming to do. Another thing that always comes up in situations like this is them saying, you cut out important details on purpose, maliciously leaving out information that's crucial. And I always hate that. Like, I'm not just gonna play the entire video and go through each and everything. I just played the ones that I really wanted to focus on for the general point that I was trying to get across.
Yeah, which is why you missed the point.
Growing and changing your content is always a good thing, and it makes complete sense why iDubbbz would regret the edginess from those videos and would regret some of the big components of those videos. Like, I don't understand how all of that got so mixed up. Like, yes, I do.
Because you have no empathy for him at all. Like, you understand the situation, but you've got no empathy for it. Like, this guy does not have the ability right now to feel what iDubbbz is feeling. Like, he can only put himself in the situation, but he can't feel the feelings. He can only be like, yo, it's me in that exact same situation having the feelings that I would have outside of the situation. That's your problem, man.
That the content was cruel, as I just explained.
Yeah,
but the core message is still, changing is a good thing. Always has been, and I've always preached for that. Instead of just living in a niche forever and making yourself miserable doing the same thing forever, changing, growing as a person, and adapting is always great. And he had legitimate things to be regretful of. The edginess, the shock humor, inexcusably cringe, lame, not good. The remaining parts of his apology video were topics that I totally understood his perspective of. I totally got it. But none of them were what I was focusing on for what I was saying about the whole subject. For example, he mentions fan interaction where he met a couple fans and it helped him understand that, damn, my content is really giving people a certain vibe or a certain impression of.
Yeah, it was.
__ is now following.
Hey, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome on in. And yeah, he definitely 100% was, he had talked about that in his video. iDubbbz originally saying that he had met a couple of his fans in real life and they came off in a way where he's like, whoa, this is how people think I would like them to interact with me? Oh, man.
Me that just isn't true.
Yeah, person in their 20s not having a bigger perspective. What?
There were a lot of things in the content that were regrettable, that he regretted.
Yeah.
Like, I get that. Like, I totally understand it. And I didn't
so let him have
exclude them from my video as a way of like manipulating a narrative or trying to hide it or anything. They were just things I totally understood, but they weren't part of like the overall talking point that I was trying to discuss.
Well, way to swing and a miss again, because if you're going to go after somebody and tell them that their reason for something is weak, you should probably give them the ability to fully explain themselves. Don't cut part of it out. Even if you feel like, oh, but I agree with that part, so play it and say, I agree with this part.
In the last video, I mentioned that I didn't feel his content created the weirdo losers that disregard the message of the content and instead focused on just the slurs, right? Like a bunch of like,
yeah, Moist missed the point on this one.
Celebrate the fact that
missed the point.
Say the bad word.
Is still missing the point.
Off limits stuff, the slurs. That's all they cared about. I said I have no doubt that those community members exist, but I didn't think his content created them. You know, I felt like, you know, like bacteria, they just happened to already be there and then found his content.
No, he grew them. He put ideas in kids' heads and those ideas grew.
A while ago, I'm most likely wrong about this. I saw the content when I was in my 20s. I could see the satire in it. I assume the majority of other people could, but I didn't even take into consideration that a lot of the viewers were younger, and there's a very good chance that this content was their first exposure to it, and it may have led to them becoming those weirdo losers.
Yeah.
Not necessarily
Moist on video, sympathy overrated. Ouch.
that the weirdo losers had always existed since the beginning of time and then just found his content. There is a very high likelihood that it also just created that atmosphere with those kind of audience members as well.
Yes.
Which is something iDubbbz would obviously want to distance himself.
Yes.
I think that was most of the things people were talking about in relation to my video on the subject. So hopefully I cleared up any misconceptions about where I stand or what I believe. And I'm sorry if things got real lost somehow. I want to make it clear once again, I was never attacking iDubbbz for apologizing for regretting his content or for wanting to change and grow and do different things. I
didn't think he was.
I voiced support for those things, but I must not have done it effectively. So that's on me, and hopefully this gave all of my perspectives on it much more clarity. That's about it. So yeah. Well, now
All right, so I gotta say, still a bit of a swing and a miss here. I think that Moist is really missing the ability to empathize with what's going on here. And I think he's maybe just never, ever personally had this kind of a situation come up for himself before, where he actually feels that bad about who he used to be. Like, obviously, he's got things in his past. He's looked back. He's like, oh, I don't feel so good about that, you know. It's not a good thing. I've changed, you know, I've grown older, but you know, oh man, you're not actually getting it. You're not stepping into this guy's shoes and seeing what he sees. He feels like he poisoned the minds of people. I don't think you have ever felt like you were a poison before. And I can understand apologizing for that. I really can. So I get why this is such an L take. You've still got an L take, my friend. Still got an L take. Good video, though. Like, good trying to explain yourself. I get where you're coming from, I think. I really think I do, but yeah. Still kind of missed it.